There we go. I got that one right. So, okay, guys, welcome to the call today. And I know I have some younger folks on the call today, and we may get into some deep stuff here, but we may not. It all depends. So I am Mary Chaney. I am the founder, CEO, president of Chairman, yeah, that too, of Minorities in Cybersecurity, and welcome to our May monthly call. So I don't know how many of you guys can see my screen. I don't know how many guys are out there or just audio. Doesn't really matter. I'll read it to you. Our leadership quote for this month: when obstacles arise, you change your direction to reach your goal. You not change your decision to get there. So ultimately, what we're going to be talking about today is changes, and and of course, using my life as a real life example of changes in both my businesses, and we'll get to that. But remember that, of course, this is our community call rules are where all calls are scheduled the fourth Friday of the month. Calls will be recorded and available for playback. I'm actually recording this call, which is a good thing. I don't mute you guys. There's not a lot of you out there. I don't need to mute it, but if you can mute yourselves, unless you plan on speaking, that will be awesome. Chatham House rules applies. Essentially, Chatham House rules say, we can talk about what we talk about, and if you want to share what we're talking about, just no attribution. Don't say, so-and-so said this or so-and-so said that. You can talk about concepts, but try to keep everyone's private information private. Be professional and respectful at all times, as we talk about branding all the time. Your word, what you say is part of your brand. So not really anything with the community update. We have, of course, our Twitter handles. Mike Leadership is one for Minorities in Cybersecurity. Of course, mine's personally is Mary Ann Chaney. You can find us on LinkedIn and Twitter. We are still in partnership with the University of Texas at Dallas, and it seems that the students at UTD need volunteer hours, because I've gotten more volunteers in the past 30 days than I have in the past 6 months. So that's pretty interesting. I'm holding a call next week to see if we can get some more volunteers as we now change the direction that we're going, and we'll get to that a little later. My job board is still up. If you're out there, we have a partnership with several organizations that post jobs on the site, so take a look at that. You can get to that off of our main page. And I know I have some new folks out there that are part of the Year Up program, giving you guys a shout out. And I was correct, and that the student price is $49. That's what I told you guys today. So I was right. And we do, of course, have corporate membership as well. So the biggest news that we have to point out, which is unfortunate, is that I canceled the in-person conference here that was scheduled for the DFW area here on September 22nd and 23rd. It would have been our first annual conference. I can talk to you guys about, essentially, with COVID-19 and us not being able to get speakers or sponsors, corporations are not sponsoring in-person conferences right now. And I was gonna push it for 6 months just to see if anything changes or would change, but I just wasn't comfortable trying to put on something in person in September, not knowing that there won't be a vaccine, knowing that I couldn't guarantee the safety of the people that are there to support us, and with all the uncertainty and misinformation that's out there, I just did not feel comfortable continue to try to plan that in-person conference. And of course, like, corporations aren't letting their employees travel, and people aren't wanting to travel like they were before. So I'll stop there to ask if any questions about, oh, wait a minute. I thought about doing a virtual conference. I really did. At this particular point in time, there will not be a virtual conference. There, essentially it costs money to do that, and not only did I've suffered hardships in my personal business, also that means if my personal business suffers, so does Mike suffer. So that is going to be a challenge, trying to get the actual capital to put something like that on. I mean, I could try to do it with Zoom, but I want it to be professional. I want it to be something that, everybody would enjoy, and I just didn't feel comfortable at this point, and still don't feel comfortable at this point, that I would be able to put on something professional that's representative of the community in this short time frame, given, where my head is right now. So we do, like I said, we have the monthly community calls. We kind of sort of are on delay with our On the Mic with podcast series. We were doing interviews with our speakers for our conference, and like I just said, the conference was canceled. And so we will be picking back up the Leadership Book of the Month Club, which I'm hopeful that I'll have one of my volunteers be able to take that on going forward. So a lot of transition, a lot of changes. The topic, of course, for today is how to pivot with grace in your career. And this is something that's personal. And as most of these calls, when I bring you guys together, a lot of this stuff comes down to what's going on or what's in and around, my life. And I want to share those things with you guys to let you know that, hey, you're not alone. We all go through these things. But, just to have an open dialogue about some of the changes or challenges that you guys may be experiencing, so we can, as a community, support one another. So as mentioned, what's going on right now in life is COVID-19, right? And unfortunately, the way things looked in January and the way things look now are two totally different things. And for me personally, I've experienced hardships where, my clients now are telling, I service small and mid-sized companies. So when my clients experience hardships, I experience hardships. And that's what happened. My clients in my law practice start to experience hardships. So now I'm experiencing hardships, and so I'm relying on them to pay me. If they're experiencing hardships, they can't pay me, then that, I'm a victim of, the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as a small business. And there is a silver lining there, but it also, like I said, affected minorities in cybersecurity to the detriment as well in regards to the annual conference. Now, I put all this plan together for minorities in cybersecurity and how we were going to launch, and started developing a strategy with other businesses to try to get them to sponsor us. And so we're going and we're doing all of that, and we're chugging along, and we have one blueprint, and this is going to be how we're going to go to market, as a startup and as a, nonprofit startup. This is what we're going to do. COVID-19 hit and everything goes to heck. So it's back to the drawing board for me. I think that where I was going with the organization was to develop programming, in-person programming and training. And that right there is not something that we're going to be able to do here in the near future. So I have to now pivot and start to think about how we can service each other in the community virtually. And, building up the portal that's inside those that are members, the membership portal that's in there, and providing resources and training, maybe utilizing this call to bring on guest speakers as well could be a way. So I have to start to get my mind around trying to change direction mid-direction, which is always a very difficult thing, especially when you think you know what you want to do, and then something comes along and changes that. So I think that, as I've been sitting here over the course of the past, what we've been on, I still don't go outside. So I've been locked down since about March 5th or so, I guess. Maybe going out once a week to shop. Still exercising though. I still go out to run, but haven't really been doing too much on getting out and about, and because I still don't trust what's going on out there. But as I've been sitting here just reflecting on how we're going to change this, or how I'm going to switch this up, or how do I give individuals that are friends of or supporters of the organization direction on how to help. So I've been unfortunately stuck, and I can admit that. And I've been stuck because, from a money-making perspective, because of course I own my own business. So from that perspective, I've experienced hardships on that. So it's hard to focus on both when you're trying to, run two businesses and both of them are struggling. So these challenges that come along in the career are very it gives you cause to pause. So I will stop there because I've been talking for a while. I'll stop there and ask you guys, essentially, are you guys going through those changes? Where are you guys right now with COVID-19 in your careers? Who's going to be first? Don't make me start calling people.
I'll go.
Okay.
My name is Chidera. So like I told you, I'm part of the Europe program, and right now I'm part of the software development track. And so I'm very, very interested in cybersecurity, and I'm just hoping that I can land an internship at one of the corporate companies as a cybersecurity analyst, hopefully, and eventually after my internship convert. So that's as far as I've gotten. Before I came into Europe, I was working on my bachelor's in IT, but then I found this program and I said, let me just go ahead and put my bachelor's aside and do this program because once in a lifetime, opportunity. So that's where I'm at right now. We start internship by July, so I'm just hoping for the best.
Yeah, where are you going to be interning? Do you know yet, or can you say?
Right. So I'm not sure yet. They announced that. They said they'll announce that next month.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Any trepidation about dealing with the remote aspect of things?
Say that again?
I said, do you have any reservations about dealing with the remote aspect? I'm assuming. Well, you said this summer. Texas is different. They're trying to open back up, but there are organizations that allow their employees to work from home. I was just saying, do you have any, stress or about dealing with that if you were actually a remote intern?
No, not at all. I'm very flexible, actually. And they said that they have more virtual positions right now. Okay. And so, honestly, whatever they give me, I'm going to take it because I'm a very flexible person.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Thank you. So
Anybody? Go ahead. Okay. Does anybody else want to share what they're going through, if they're experiencing any challenges right now with COVID-19 and trying to grow your career?
Hi, Mary. This is Cheryl Cooper from Kansas City.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hey. Well, I've been blessed to be able to work remotely. I work for T-Mobile. So from that perspective, I have a job and I'm working remotely. However, I have a passion for mentoring and helping others, and I have a 501c3 mentoring organization where I mentor women and minorities to encourage them to pursue careers in STEM, specifically in technology and cybersecurity, and more so on a group level. So I hosted summits, seminars, workshops, and so for me, my challenge has been I've lost that physical base. And so I really had to step back and say, how do I reach my core base virtually?
Yeah, yeah.
How do I continue to do the work? And so I was blessed to partner with, and this is just this week, I was blessed to partner with the National Cybersecurity Educational Institute, in which they already have a virtual introductory IT fundamentals, networking, security class where the student can do a test-out certification in the end. I'm going to be offering that on June 1st, 30 days. But even though it's virtual, what I'm offering as a part of that, since this is my lane, I'm going to be available and have one-on-one sessions online with the students who have enrolled, just to clarify any of the course content. So that was one of my challenges. I'm going to say challenge, still challenge, and saying, yeah, what's my next step from there, since I can't do the face-to-face with the youth that I'm trying to reach out to. But I do think it's more important that we push that content virtually, because as more students are going online, oftentimes the minority students don't have the digital literacy or prepared to do learning online. And so that's what I'm hoping that this course does.
Yeah, the challenge is specifically twofold, because many times, especially in the minority communities that that suffer hardships from a social economic perspective, you have a bigger challenge, which is, do they even have internet access? So, my ex-husband is a community college teacher, and he and I were talking about a lot of the colleges and universities not being prepared to go virtual. And it becomes the community. He was saying the community colleges out in Los Angeles were thinking about doing the same. I said, but community colleges service a group of individuals that may not have a high-speed internet connection in their home. So you can't think that everything is going to transition into a place where just because you offer it, that people are going to be able to utilize those things. And so, especially I find as a minority female that's been doing a lot of volunteer work and a lot of mentoring and a lot of things in this community, the challenge, of course, is engagement and keeping people engaged to continue to move forward. And even in this organization, keeping people, giving people an outlet, but also keeping them engaged when their day-to-day may look something completely different than, mine, so to speak. So anyone else out there? Nobody else wants to share?
Hey, Mary, this is Cheryl out of Kansas City again while we're waiting for others to chime in. Hey, what you were saying resonated with me as well when I said, oh, wow, I've lost my base. I've got like 5-6 boxes of those sports water bottles. I was going to give out at my next conference that I was going to be at, and what's my strategy? And then I said, I just really need to step back and say, what is it I want to be remembered for? You know, a lot of us go through our life saying, living to work. I got to work to live. But we should be thinking more about how can I live to make a difference. And so that's where I am in my mindset when I'm thinking, how do I re-strategize? How do I do it to make a difference? And like you said, maybe I even need to change the scope of my mission of my organization.
Yeah, and a lot of times you have to get to a certain point in your career to start volunteering your time. Many of the folks that are on the call are in the building stages of their career. And, you know, I was told a long time ago when I, you know, first started my first company, you always have time to volunteer your time. Later on in life, you have to focus in on feeding your family at some point. And so, you know, it becomes the drive to give back, that drive to give back into the community it gets stronger and stronger as you get more experience. As I think minorities in cybersecurity, we have individuals that are at different levels, right, of their career journey, right, and then, you know, as this conversation is about pivoting, I can tell you right now, I actually got a verbal offer today to join a company to go back into corporate America because, you know, when things when I look at what's going on right now and how far along things will go before it gets back from an economic perspective. I'm a numbers person, mm-hmm. Always have been. And so, you know, yeah, you know, staying out there and running my business, and it's hard to network virtually to garner business as an attorney in cybersecurity. So, you know, you get to certain places in life, and this is not my first pivot. This is not the first time I've had to misdirect or change directions, so to speak, of what I thought I wanted to do to what I need to do for what's in the best interest of myself and my family. So, you know, there are a multitude of things that happen. This is a once in a lifetime, if you live that long, pandemic. And so it gives you cause to pause and to actually have to reevaluate where you are and where you want to be. And that's a continuous process. And, you know, the challenges may not be as difficult as COVID-19, but those challenges exist at every point in your career. You have to make a decision about where you want to go, and you make that decision based on what's in front of you right now. This particular offer that I have, this job, I turned down in January. They came to me in January and wanted me to take it, and I said, no, I'm good. But, you know, when they came back in April, having not found the right person, things had changed between January and April. So the pivoting, the changing of direction, you know, it doesn't stop me from, you know, pursuing, as our quote said today, it doesn't stop me for trying to get to my goal, just because I have to change the direction. And, you know, I can say that my legacy is minorities in cybersecurity, so wherever I work, so to speak, in my career is done to support and give back. But not necessarily, I mean, you have, you know, people in college, you have year up folks that are just trying to get in. You know, I have people on the phone call that I know that are still in the middle of building that just transitioned into cybersecurity. So, you know, we could talk, you and I, Cheryl, can talk about, you know, giving back, but these individuals are, you know, like I said, in that building stage, just trying to, you know, build their careers. So it just is a different way.
Well, I can help with that, and you just let me know where you need me. And I'm more than willing to help. I'm getting some echo back. But I'm more than willing to help our members and help them to ascend in their careers. I know, Mary, you and I are on LinkedIn, so you know my background. I teach this stuff at a university level, so also.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
If anybody wants some guidance on how to get in, where they should start, where's the top certifications being asked. I mean, that's stuff that you and I, Mary, we know. Actually, I did some data mining on that, so you just let me know where you need me, and I will be there for you as well as for our members.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anybody else out there want to chime in into the discussion? You know, I don't like silence. I told the Year Up folks that this morning. Participate. Come have your voice heard. Anything resonating with anybody out there on the call? You guys didn't come here just to hear Mary talk. Please, no.
I guess I would like to.
We got two people. One.
I can wait.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I didn't really have much, actually. That's why I've been quiet. I'm Cohen, the field. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I work for a big tech company and pretty much been working remote. So I wouldn't say I see much change in terms of, you know, like if you own your own business or if you work with people directly. So that's why I haven't chimed in, like not that much of a difference per se.
I have a question for you though. Do you feel like, because when I worked remotely in the beginning of my, in my corporate career, I always felt that my opportunities would be stunted. My opportunities for promotion would be stunted because I wasn't having that face-to-face interaction. Of course, COVID-19 prevents us from all having that face-to-face, but I'm just asking, do you feel that there could be some challenges there as you try to ascend or try to get promoted in your career, if that's what you want to do?
Right. So I think, so I'm mid-career right now, and good enough, I've been here almost 2 years now, so I think it helps that I've been there this long. But I would say, like, if one just started at a company and then this happened, I think there's some kind of challenge there. Yeah, we're all meeting remotely, but there's still a disconnect, personally, I believe. For me personally, not quite, because I've kind of built some relationship before COVID happened. But I would say for sure there is a difference with being able to meet with people remotely as opposed to in person, even though my company is actually globally spaced. So we were kind of doing a lot of remote with other folks across the globe already. But that's my experience.
Okay. I think, Leslie, you had something?
Hey, Mary, yeah. I am not working remote. I still have to go in every day. So, I mean, it's different because there's nobody in the office. There's maybe 3 of us. It's quiet, it's dead, but I'm still super busy. So that's kind of like, I mean, that's the challenge. Everything has changed now to having meetings online, virtually, or conference calls. Everything has turned into conference calls as far as meetings go. And I don't really see anybody. And so that's the only difference for me, is I'm still going in every day. They're supposed to start bringing people back gradually in the next 2 weeks. So we don't know what that's going to look like and how that's going to go, because we all now have to wear masks in the office every day and gloves. And so, that's my difference.
Yeah, and do you guys have the open concept in regards to seating?
No, not yet. What we have is we have cubes, and they have very high partitions, so you can't see the other person. But
Okay.
They were talking about going down to the 6 feet 6 inches. Everybody is going to get a little cube of 6 inches, and they were going to take the partitions down so that you could see everybody. They had started that in some of the spaces and in some of the buildings. So now what they've been talking about is when they bring people back, that they have to strategically sit everybody 6 inches of 6 feet apart. And so they're trying to figure out how to coordinate the desk spaces. So what they're thinking they may do is only have people come in for 2 or 3 days a week, and then switch out and have another group come in the days that the other people aren't there, so that you don't have everybody there at the same time. So they're still working on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought about that when they started talking about organizations going back to work, because many organizations, including several of the organizations that I work for, were going to that open concept where it's, bay seating and we're all together, everybody, even my security operations center that I ran, people were sitting next to each other. There's nothing between them. It was like, seating, college seating. And so, now that people those partitions are helpful now, where and so it's going to be interesting to see what corporations do to try to, deal with this issue. And the whole, even colleges and universities, and how they're going to deal with this change, in what they thought they were going to be doing, like many of us, and then what they are now being forced to have to do. So.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people who are saying they're not comfortable coming back.
Yeah.
So they would like to continue teleworking, but we don't have a telework policy in place. So
tell them to call me. Tell them to call me. I've been dealing with those.
They're trying to figure out, okay, so how do we get these people back? Because in one of the buildings that I work in, they only allow one person in the elevator at a time, and they're telling you should take the steps. And they're like, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Anybody on the call actually worked in the office building before and now have to work remote? Outside of Leslie, of course. Yeah, because I remember. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said I did. This is Toyin again. I used to work inside the office building before this happened.
And what's your corporation saying about bringing people back in? Are they looking to, Facebook said everybody can work remote. They can live what they want to live. Is that what they're doing now?
Well, so for us, they are going to have a phased comeback approach, kind of like was just mentioned. So in the phases, it's only those that have to be on site, like that it's a must, like you've actually missed it in accomplishing your task. And then the last phase will be people that can be completely remote without any issues, which is where for cyber, for my role, that's where that falls. I don't know when that's going to happen, a few months from now, but they're doing phased approach, and yes, they do have that whole, they're going to space people out where they sit. Everywhere you go, though, then you have to have the mask. Yes, when you come into the building, they're going to do all the checks. You're going to answer all the questions every single day you go in. So, yes, that's the plan right now.
Wow.
But we don't have a set date yet for the first phase.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, Renee Forney, who's on my board, and she works at Capital One, and they're in Virginia, and she said they told them don't even think about coming into the office until sometime after September. And so I'm just intrigued to see how corporations are going to do it. I mean, from a IT perspective, from a cybersecurity perspective, that our space essentially can be remote. It doesn't, because we are dealing with cyberspace most of the time, and so I found Facebook's choice interesting. I mean, Silicon Valley is known for its big buildings and people building out buildings and brick and mortar and having people come in and, daycare on site, dry cleaning on site, anything, the gyms on site. They want you to come and stay. So I'm just fascinated, especially out in California where the governor is really being restrictive about what can be done, what organizations that have those big old buildings are going to do. I'm thinking about when I worked at Comcast. Comcast was building a building next to the building that they already had, and now you have these potential cities and skyscrapers that are high density type of populations that could be left empty. And, that was just a complete waste of money for building that. So it's fascinating to see how this is going to change how people think about it. I mean, I know that there have been organizations in the past that I've worked for, like Comcast specifically, that wanted people to come into the building because they had these beautiful buildings. But how that's going to change now that, we are in this pandemic and what they're going to do to support their employees, especially, then I put my legal hat on from a liability perspective. If I come into office and I get sick, is that company now liable to me for any type of, hospital, or if now I take it home and my family gets sick and somebody dies, is that wrongful death because you forced me to come into this office building? So these are all fascinating things that are still going to be playing out for years to come. So I'm just curious I know we spend a lot of money going to open concepts and, doing construction and everything like that, only to now say that is not a good idea for individuals to be doing that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, this is Cheryl again from Kansas City, Legacy Sprint T-Mobile. And in the Kansas City area, for Sprint, they have the Sprint campus that has the capacity of 15,000 employees, and they were moving toward a WeWork open floor space plan, sitting right next to each other. Well, now all that has to change. And when we had an executive town hall with Mike Sievert, the CEO of T-Mobile, as you were saying, Mary, a lot of this work is going to last for the next several years. Mike Sievert said, I've met with other CEOs. They're trying to figure this thing out. And how do we get these employees back in the building safe? He said, do we rotate? Do we have them wear masks? When they hit the guard gate, do we say you have to remove the mask so that we can see your face? So a lot of that still needs to be worked out. I worked in the office initially. We're being told for administrative and corporate positions, continue to work from home. For T-Mobile Sprint, their priority is getting retail employees back into the store, right? We want to provide that service to the customers. But if you're doing it now, administrative, corporate, stay at home until we get this worked out.
Yeah. That's intriguing. So checking in, you're in Kansas City. How are things just overall from a, are people, and I don't know all the rules everywhere. I only know Texas because our governor's not, I'm recording this call, so I'm going to keep my opinion to myself. But all that to be said, our governor's doing some things that I don't necessarily agree with. What's going on up there in Missouri as far as are people are they protesting up there too, or are they following the rules in regards to masks and things like that? Because people down here are not.
We are partially open. This week they opened up salons. So you can go get your nails done now. Not that I'm going, but yes, Kansas and Missouri, we are partially open. Some people are wearing the mask. Some people just refuse to wear them. But there are some places that will not allow you in unless you do have a mask on. Nursing homes and hospitals. Nursing homes you still can't go in to visit. Hospitals you cannot go in unless you're being seen. You cannot go in there to visit, wait on your friend. They're going through the emergency room. You have to drop them off at the door. But we're a little bit more civil. We are not carrying guns and rifles to the governor's office protesting.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, we have Kansas City, we have Texas. Leslie, I know the mayor out in Maryland. He's told the president not to come. He doesn't play well with others. He doesn't.
Oh my goodness.
So I kind of sort of know what's going on in the D.C. Metroplex area. We have a child that doesn't want to play by the rules in that area. Anybody else around the country, anybody in some place different than Texas, D.C., Maryland, or Kansas City that has anything going on out there that's strange in your world? I don't have any of my West Coast people, it doesn't look like, on the phone today. No, but it's really strange. We are being civil down here in Texas. We're not carrying, well, we carry guns all the time, so it's not that big of a deal. But I don't see any protests. But, you know, I'm in the suburb of Dallas. I'm in Tarrant County, which is actually Fort Worth. And I don't really see anything, but I do notice, like, when we're fully open. I want to say everything's open now. Is that right, DFW crew? Is everything open now? And here in Texas, because our governor said that summer camps were going to be open, and I've literally pulled my kids out of summer camp. I've pulled my kids out of sports activities. I've pulled my kids out of everything this summer because I'm not comfortable. So, you know, our governor has everything open, but I'm not, like you said, Cheryl, I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to be out there. But I went out to the grocery store, and, you know, there are a couple of restaurants, and I saw their outdoor patio restaurants. A whole bunch of people just out without masks just because they want to be outside. And I get it. You know, you get cabin fever when you're at home, but I just question the logic of, because you can't eat with a mask on. What's the point in going to a restaurant if you can't eat with a mask, right? You're going to have to take that mask off. So I don't know. It's really strange. It's a strange time. It's very surreal right now. Nobody else wants to chime in there? All right. Well, go ahead.
Something else that's not happening in Kansas City. I was scheduled to go to Venice, Italy, on June 10th. On Wednesday, I received a call from American Airlines and told me your flight has been canceled. Yeah, so I found that interesting that I didn't have to call the airline and cancel. They called me to say we are canceling all flights going into Italy.
Yeah, wow. So how are you guys doing mentally? If we don't, you know, we talked about work. What are you guys doing for self-care? Because that is very important, especially during this time. You know, I have my kids and my mom that live with me, so I have people that I interact with. Still concerned about those that live alone that may not have that touch point. What are you guys doing? Any advice out there from people about the self-care? You know, you guys know I exercise all the time. So, you know, any new things out there, any recommendations you guys have for taking care of yourself or staying mentally positive despite what's going on around you?
what helps me stay positive is just praying and just thinking optimistic.
Yeah, yes, that is very important.
This is Cheryl. For me, it's the same thing. I'm getting out there and I'm walking. I'm taking advantage. Actually, I'm glad that I'm working from home. I'm able to get out and walk. I had some weight I needed to lose, and so I'm getting out. I'm doing my walking. I'm eating a lot better because I know what I'm putting in my mouth. I'm taking this time to reflect and listen to positive messages. There's a lot of people of color that have a great positive, great positive messages, and I'm a strong believer in listening to those positive messages. One of my favorites is from Denzel Washington, his commencement speech. So if you haven't heard that before, I recommend to start to listen to Denzel Washington's commencement speech.
Yeah, we have some very positive things going on out there, but you know, it sometimes, especially IT people, cybersecurity people, are naturally introverted, and it's okay when it's people around, but sometimes we can dig into our own head sometimes, and you have to pull ourselves out of it. So it's very important to have a routine and set your routine and have those aspects of self-care, because I literally had to, I don't think, maybe once or twice this week I've actually turned on and watched the news. I was getting to the point that I was literally, when I come into my office, I'll turn on the news and I'll do my work. Well, it became so depressing and it's really depressing to listen. I had to pull back the amount of news that I consume. Now I can read it, but reading it is different than actually listening to it. So, taking that time out for yourself and that break, that's the one thing that is a positive coming out of this crisis that we're in, is that we do have the time to reflect. I was talking to my best friend today, and her and I were reminiscing about the actually first time we met. So we were trying to remember the very first time we met. Now, we met in law school, and she's not going to listen to this recording, so whatever. And in law school, I used, one of my outlets was playing video games. And so the very first time I met her, we had a mutual friend that was asking me, hey, Mary, what are you going to do tonight? Because it was a Friday night. The only time I played video games was on a Friday night, and that was my outlet. And so I said, I'm going to play video games. So later on, when we got to know each other a little better, she was like, you know what, when you said you were going home to play video games, I was just like, she's not going to ever make it back to law school. In law school, you could flunk out. She said, she's never going to make it back. and I said, needless to say, I was number 2 in my class. You should have been playing some video games. Maybe you would have been, did a little better in law school. So, it gives us an opportunity to connect with people and talk to people that we don't, life makes us a little bit too busy sometimes, and we lose those human connections. So I've been taking advantage of that to really just talk to people. I said I was going to host a virtual happy hour and with my girlfriends, just to get us all on a call to see each other and drink wine. I'm not drinking wine right now. I'm in the middle of a cleanse, but when I come out of it, I'll put together some type of virtual happy hour so we can get together and talk and chat. And I suggest you guys do that with your friends and family if you're not already doing that. That's one of the things that, I think that is a positive coming out of this, is we recognize that we're physically distanced from each other, so we're reaching out. We're not taking advantage of the fact that, I can see you when I want to. Right now, I can't see you, and so now developing and strengthening those relationships is also really important. So we have about 7 minutes, and what we like to do towards the end of the call is, for all the things that we discussed, they're off the table, and if we give a person an opportunity to bring forth something that's on their mind that may not be relevant to the discussion that we were talking, but you need advice or counsel about something that you are personally going through right now that you need help with. So is there anybody out there like that? Everybody's okay. We're in the middle of a pandemic and everything is just A-okay. Okay, well, that's possible.
Hey, Mary, Cheryl again. You know what, but every day is not a good day. I think it's important that we stay self-aware. I was in the grocery store, and I had this feeling come over me. My eyes watered. I felt like I wanted to cry, and I was wondering what was going on with me. And it was just what was going on around me, right? But I didn't know it was affecting me that way. Mm-hmm. But if I had not been self-aware, I would have been saying, what's going on? Because usually I'm a person that keeps it fairly together. But just sometimes, just be aware of our bodies, our mind, our emotions. I don't know if you know Cynthia Newsom. She's an African-American news anchor here in the greater Kansas City area, and she's been doing a project on the power of touch and the emotional impact of not having that physical touch. She's primarily focusing on single people. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes we think we got it and we really don't.
Yeah, I mean, I've come to tears a few times during this pandemic just because of, the hurt, and there are people out there hurting. So, yes. when it does affect you. You may think it doesn't, and I'm a strong person too. I'm mm-hmm. literally supposed to be the rock for everybody else, but it can be overwhelming to even admit to yourself that this is impacting you, and it doesn't mean that it's going to spiral you into a state of depression that you can't get out of, but taking the time to recognize mm-hmm. that something's off, something's not right with me, and giving yourself that permission to be that way. A lot of times we don't want to be that way. It's a commercial that comes on, and I watch a lot of crime shows, so it's probably on, WeTV or Ion when I'm watching Criminal Minds, but it's and then you have a bunch of stars that are talking about it's okay to be afraid, it's okay to be this, that, and they run through all of this, and it's a mental health commercial. They give you a number to call, and sometimes it's just easy just to give ourselves permission to feel what we feel. And I don't know what's going to come out of it, even with us now going to this remote workforce, if it's going to detrimentally affect our ability to be social with each other, or if we are going to look at this and say, wow, what we have taken for granted for so long in regards to our ability to connect with people, that's been taken away. So are we going to get now closer and stop talking to people through screens, to develop personal connections with people and things like that? So I think from the years to come, it's going to be a situation where this is going to affect the way we actually relate to each other for a long time now. But I guarantee you, I'm going to be going somewhere in 2021. If it's just the end of 2021, you guys that know me know I love to travel, and everything canceled in April, so I haven't been anywhere, so that's not like me at all. I have to get out and see folks, but I thank you guys so much for joining the call. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. I am going to have an eye towards bringing in a guest speaker next month because y'all can't have me talking all the time. So I'm going to get...
Sorry, I just want to make one more comment. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes when we go through something like this, it can mirror PTSD. So that's another whole different session on what it is and what are the symptoms. But some people can come out of this with trauma.
Yeah, there will be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Thank you so much, Mary.
No, that's a very good point. And take care, everybody. Take care of yourself and your family, and to the extent that you can enjoy this Memorial Day barbecue. Of course, I will barbecue for my kids, even though I'm not going to eat my barbecue. But I will barbecue for my kids. Enjoy your family and enjoy your time. And as always, if you need anything, feel free to reach out, and we'll talk again next month.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, Mary, and everyone have a safe holiday.
Thank you so much, Mary. Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.